And now, let's jump right into the most exciting session of the GPCA Youth Forum every year, the CEO panel discussion, where we have the privilege of hosting none other than the industry leaders for an insightful panel discussion. Top CEOs from the chemical industry will delve into the unique challenges and opportunity the industry faces in sustainability. Please join me in welcoming our panelists. First, Hilal Al Kharusi, Chief Executive Commercial and Downstream from OQ. Khalid Al Dawood, MD and CEO of NatPet. Naser Aldousari, CEO of Equate. And of course, our moderator, Sara Al Zahrani, Head of Suppliers Development from the Ministry of Energy in Saudi Arabia. Please make your way to the stage.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be here today with you and moderate such a valuable panel discussion. In this panel discussion, top CEO from chemical leader in the chemical industry will explore challenge and opportunities in sustainability. They will discuss the strategies for foster youth leadership and engage young professional leaders in driving innovations. Through real-life examples, the CEO will share insight in building culture of sustainabilities and collaboration to achieve industry. So, welcome our panelists. So, starting with the first questions, it will be the introduction questions. How do we see the role of petrochemical industry evolving to meet global sustainability goals in the upcoming years? Starting with you, Mr. Hilal.
Thanks for the offer, Sarah. We've been listening the last yesterday and most of the forums that the petrochemical industry it is on its way towards achieving the sustainability goals. And that's come with certain challenges. With challenges also with these opportunities that we've been addressed since yesterday. Let me highlight just the three challenges I see today towards the sustainability issue. One, globally, we produce about 400 million tons of plastic waste. Only about 9 to 10% of that get recycled. Talk about 39 million tons. In addition, we have the petrochemical industry is heavy energy intensive, and we use natural gas that contribute to the CO2 emission. And it's count about 7% globally. And the third one is a capital intensive. So funding issues sometimes hinder implementing some of those sustainability initiatives. Having said that, opportunity always there. The key opportunity that's the demand for the petrochemical product is increasing year on year. For two reasons. World population is increasing. In addition, the product uses on the top of what we have today is also increasing. And that demand brings with it innovations and new technologies that should overcome those challenges I just mentioned. So if you look at it in a summary, what action the industry should be taking, continue enhancing innovation, R&Ds, participate heavily in implementing the latest technology in the design of the plant and so on. And we expect the result to overcome basically they will come over the waste issue and the recyclability of the waste. In addition, contribute to the decarbonization. And both are essential pieces on the sustainability in the long run.
Thank you so much, Mr. Halal. Moving to you, Mr. Khalid.
So maybe five years ago, if you asked me about the industry we're in, I would say we've matured. And for young, talented people like the audience today, it's not fun to go into a mature industry, you know. Things would go slow, less innovative. So good news for you is this sustainability element has brought life to our industry and created challenges and opportunity. And it's not yet tapped in. If you think about our old model, we used to make, take, and dispose, sometimes not in a best way. Today, as part of sustainability, now we need to think about closing the loop, reuse. We reuse either for the same application, or we reuse with an upgrade, or we reuse for totally different function. Questions like making with recycling in mind was never in our mind, like 10 years ago. Today, it become another field of looking at the utilization of and usage of plastic, if we're talking about plastic today. So indeed, it's a big challenge for the industry, because sustainability without economics is also difficult to handle. You need to coordinate with the policymakers, with the governments, with the end users, and makes the relationship management very, very complex one, and very interesting too, I think. So that is where we are today, is revisiting the old model, seeing what opportunity it brings, looking at the closed loop model, and also see some of the technical, commercial difficulties of like transforming from an old model to the new model is going to be, I think, the future for the Bitchem. And indeed, with your talent and knowledge, it's quite important. Let me just say also on the knowledge one word. In our generation, we venture into petrochemicals with a clear raw material cost advantage. So it was much easier for us to penetrate and grow. For you guys, it's no longer the cost advantage, it's the technology know-how that would make a big difference and staying competitive in this sustainability, if you like, new world. So very important, guys, to think knowledge and know-how going forward with the Bitchem industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Khalid. Moving to you, Mr. Naser.
Thank you, Sara. I think I'm going to look at this from a totally different perspective for the benefit of our audience. The way I see it with our industry is that we don't operate in a vacuum. So, yes, as an industry, we need to adhere to what is required now from a sustainability perspective. For us, it has been a journey. So the way that I see it is at two different levels. One, which we played an important role, is when you look at sustainability on a worldwide global scale. You look at how sustainability initiatives started, it was how do we slow down on the depletion of resources that are scarce, things that sometimes take away from food security to feed chemicals, or whether it's the use of natural resources, etc. So it's not just the industry, it's beyond that. And if you look at the single most contributor to the success of that sustainability was actually the chemical and petrochemical industry. We provided the solutions that actually helped the whole world elevate from a very simple way of life to a fast, very modern, very flexible ability to travel, ability to provide fresh water, fresh food. In this region, we've never had more fresh food from all corners of the world, and it's all because of solutions that this industry have made. So on a global scale, we are the solution for the most part. Now, for me, on the easier level, actually, is what is the challenges that we're seeing as an industry. And I see it's the easier one because there is nothing that a determined, well-equipped, well-educated group of industry professionals cannot solve. We've started seeing this in the performance of safety, environment, in all of the companies that we've worked in. The safety standards, the environmental standards, when we started in the industry was a lot different. Now we don't have any tolerance for anything that is negatively impacting safety, environment, or anything else. Because not only because it's a commitment, but because it's also a good business. And for the most part, I think the way we look at sustainability, it should be because it's a good business. And it's a good business that we can solve not only the issues and the challenges we face as an industry, Sara, but also as humanity. What is it that we need to do in order to make sure that the world has what it needs with less waste, as Khalid Dhikr, and with the most efficient resource uses, as Hilal mentioned. So these two levels, I think they go hand in hand. And of course, we need to work with all the stakeholders and all those who are interested in making this a better world. And of course, the youth play an important aspect of it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Naser. I think the easy question done. So let's deep dive in the other question, which is more too deep in the technicality. So going back to you, Mr. Hilal, what the role do you see in new technologies? And what do you believe in the biggest misconceptions about sustainability in chemical industry and how it can be addressed?
That's a question, thank you. Indeed, it's going to get harder now. Okay, I think there is a misconception among the industry that our young talents or the youth are not fully engaged on the sustainability topic. And there could be different reasons for that. But when I say misconception, mainly is they are disengaged. We don't see that in the communication, or actually they are not, the topic is not in their agenda. So that word misconception, I believe personally, is not true. If you look at from all aspects, young talent today, even if they apply for new jobs, they actually dictate what the type of the job, what is the content of it. It's not the salary anymore. And they have their interesting topics when it comes to sustainability. They would like to see the organization they're going to get employee have. Second thing is 70% or more of our talented, they are actually on the social media, at least 3 to 4 hours a day. So they are well aware what's going on around the globe, whether on the social or environmentals and so on. The other point is the processes and the procedures these companies we have today. It's been evolving and updated and evolved over the life cycle of any plant. So our youth get access to the latest processes and procedures, as well what the latest technology is. And they see, and while we design any new project, they will have exposed on the latest design, new technologies and so on. So our youth are fully engaged on the process and the issues or the opportunities around sustainability. Maybe from two angles, what is our industry is doing to bring our youth in the sustainability topic. As I mentioned, they are fully engaged in the social media, more than me for sure. And that is a platform where we can, as an organization, communicate with our young talented across our organization on the topics towards sustainability and the issues around it. I believe they are the ambassadors, not only within the organization, it's within the society, within the country they are in, and also beyond. Second thing is each organization have to have the platform to bring those young talented who actually who enjoy the topic of sustainability and are passionate about it, because they will be our ambassador, as I say, within the organization and advocate around the globe. Each individual from the talent people, their expectation. We want them to communicate, raise the issues to the leaders, to the organization, so they are also aware of what our talented individuals want. So I don't believe there is a misconception. I think there's more to enhance the communication between our youth and the organization they are in and the society.
Thank you, Mr. Hilal. I totally agree with you. The sustainability is the key driver to achieve the future industry and goals. And the workforce is driving these, and we have to focus how to develop the workforce, and especially the young and youth. So moving to you, Mr. Khalid, what the role do you see in the new technology and AI, like an AI or circle economy models, playing in the future of sustainable within the chemical industry?
So, as I said before, when go with a closed loop model, then the simple recycle is very straightforward. Your challenge is collections and management of like preparation for recycling. Yeah. If you want to upgrade, then you start to need know-how and technology, and that is where we have to shift from mastering operation, which we've done in the last 30 years, to operational excellence, to manage innovation. And that would be your challenge going forward, I think. Now, in the upgrades, I think there is a few technologies that are very much proven. They have a bit of an economic challenge, but it would be adjusted through other means, by government partnership, by taxes and stuff like that. Then there's a big talk hype about, if you like, biochemicals. I think bio failed on the fuel, most likely would have a very challenging, if you like, conditions to succeed as part of sustainability. Still very expensive, still has all kinds of questions about its environmental soundness to do. And then I think for plastic, the two untapped, easier technologies that worth focusing on short term would be designing for reuse, which I've mentioned before. So we need to look into how, for example, to do pellets that we can continuously reuse. How do we use other plastic materials with minimum compositions? Yeah, because the biggest challenge if you recycle is to, if you like, decompose a system and then use the metal, the plastic, the different grade of plastic. If you minimize the number of plastic type you use per product, recycling obviously become much easier. So if you do that right, then I think compounding would have a great scope of recycling. For example, we're looking at now plastic PET that used for bottles. If we recompound again and make either plastic grades PET or even fiber grade PETs, and you can go on. On plastic compounding, you have thousands and thousands of grades that you can reuse all material, add additives and other chemical, if you like, condition improvements to make it simple, and then reproduce it for another use. So that technology, I think, worth focusing on going forward. The last one that we cannot avoid talking about it, even though I think there is reservation about the emission it could generate is reusing the plastic for energy. If you really look at the quantities today, 350 million ton a year and accumulating with less than 10% getting recycled. I think the practical decision we one day need to make is, shall we continue to landfill this or burn it as fuel? You know, it would emit. You could have control over emissions. Singapore has done it. Many countries are looking at it. But that is something I think in the short term we should not avoid making a selection between two choices that is the bad and the worse, if you like. I think that covers the general, if you like, material reuse options for sustainability.
Thank you, Mr. Khalid. I think I totally agree with you to the importance of AI to driving the future.
So let me cover the AI because I haven't covered it. And AI versus Industry 4.0, it's about trying to mimic a human intelligence. We're still in a very early stage of seeing that mimicking happen. Yeah, there's obviously a very interesting, if you like, outcome, but to get into an industrial application, I think we're still years away from AI application. Industry 4.0, definitely. You know, but Industry 4.0 is about digitization, you know, integrating equipment with system to get a much optimized results. And that has a great impact on efficiency. Yeah. And maybe one word on efficiency. When we talk about sustainability, we keep ignoring the importance of efficiency in sustainability. I think it's the best, easiest solution that kept ignored because politically it doesn't sell. You know. But you could always keep in mind that efficiency is the first best solution for any sustainability, regardless. Yeah. So going back to Industry 4.0 for efficiency, absolutely proven, absolutely has a big scope. AI, I think we've seen the early results of machine learning and big data management, how to utilize that technology, if we call it technology, into sustainability. I think there is still some work to be done on that field.
Thank you, Mr. Khalid. Moving to you, Mr. Naser. How can we equip youth and the skills and resources as well to have their need in to drive sustainable and innovations within the chemical industry?
That's a good question, and I'm sorry to say that you're already in. So you're in the game. So equipping them is actually for me, is on the other way around. I'll start with hiring, because at this day and age, it's what you bring to the organization and what the organization actually can teach you to do. I think it was Hilal and Khalid who said earlier in the industry, you would recruit a new engineer or a scientist or anyone with a set of skills that graduated with a degree, and they will go through an extensive orientation. I think I see some nodding here, and I hate to say it, some organization, it would last a year or two, where they're trying to condition you to what is it that they want you to do. I think in today's world, you cannot just come to the organization and expect to be told what to do. So for me, the first role of equipping is making sure that you have the right intake within the organization. And this is where diversity plays an important role, because that inclusivity will allow everyone to have a view, to have an opinion, to have an input in the organization. The second one is to make sure that people know that they can bring something of value to the organization. Not all of us have the same background or even hobbies or skills. So each individual within the organization, especially the youth, we'll have the energy, we'll have the fresh eye, and we'll have the relevancy that we need in the industry now. Some of the battles that we are actually fighting now is through the awareness and education. And the reason is we haven't started early enough. So we now have a big demographic of the populations that have a misconception about the industry or what it means to be sustainable in what you do. The third items that Sara, I would also emphasize to many of the leaders and also colleagues apart, give space for people to show you what they can offer. It cannot be that the meeting has a hierarchy. One of the early learnings that I've had in my career was I joined a team that had the managing director, some of the senior management, but they were not actually the head of the team. And that was a learning experience. This is where the youth can start by finding a voice, finding the comfort in the area that they want to contribute in, and also they have a responsibility that you need to also improve yourself, improve the skills that you need. You need to strengthen the areas that you need. And most of it is around you. If you like finance experience, talk to your finance colleagues. If you need the technical information, whether it's on AI, how can you make better use of your meetings, your scheduling, your planning for many things? AI can do that for you. Some of us don't have that skill yet. But one of the main advantages of the technology is that it allows you to do what is important. You don't have to waste time to prepare for a meeting because that's not necessarily what you need to do. You need to think, how can I add value to the meeting? How can I provide better interpretation of the analysis that was done on specific items? I'll give an example, Sara, of one of the areas that is important as well, is make sure that you also are relevant in the initiative that makes sense. In a petrochemical company, you will find yourself in operation, you can go from raw material to production, and you can look at all the efficiency as Khalid just mentioned. But there are a lot of other things that the company do for a reason. In one of the initiatives that we sponsor, it's for plastic collection for recycling, and it's an initiative called Omnia in Kuwait. In one of the meetings we discussed with them, we said, well, how do you know where are the inefficiency in your collections? And we have a brilliant team at Kuwait where they do analysis, they do Six Sigma projects. They can basically look at any data and give you a lot of information. So we provided them with the data. And guess what? A young professional came up with the analysis and told them, this is what you do if you want to do better collection. And the same goes for many other initiatives. So don't sell yourself short. If you're asking me, how do we equip them? We make sure that they know that they already have the right to have a voice, to contribute, and that they should have also the time of the day to go and work on the skills that they need. And more importantly, like the GPCA have done with the Youth Council, is tell them, you have the space. Just come to us if you need anything. And you'll find that this is something that will allow people to come forward with ideas and work hard on the things that make value addition to the organization and the industry as a whole. I'll finish this with a statement that I always keep close to my coaching or mentoring sessions. People are limited by desire, not by capability. You can have the best capabilities if you don't have the heart to do something. You're not going to pursue it. You need to have that desire, the inner wanting to do better, and that will not only be beneficial for sustainability initiative, it will be good for your career, it will be good for your success, and also for your well-being, because that's that's what we share in common. We had the desire that we wanted to add value, and we had the desire that we want to excel in a field that makes sense, and we knew what is important to focus on as well. So from a sustainability perspective, find the area that you can contribute. You don't have to do everything, but you can be doing very valuable aspect of the work that you're doing as an organization. And again, in Equate, one of the things that we always emphasize is that try to get more people to work on new projects. It cannot be the usual suspects, that it's the same names repeated all over again. Giving people more exposure, more responsibility, you'll find that they deliver. But I see it with all sincerity to the young professionals in front of us, is that you also have to bring your game to the mix and want to and have the desire to learn and contribute as well.
Thank you, Mr. Naser. I think your answer is driving me to turn the floor to our youth to ask and to hear from them. So please join us to ask our expertise and our leader what kind of questions you have to them.
Naser, I mean.
So you got all the difficult.
Yes, please. Yes, so please share your name and entities. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Mr. Nasser, you gave really good advice for leaders on how to create a space for youth to innovate. However, in my humble view, I hope I'm right. I hope I'm wrong, because my observation in the downstream business in general, the mindset is conservative. Efficiency and safety comes first. Wasting some resources, money and time on a project that might fail, it might not be a priority for many leaders. So what advice would you give for young professionals on dealing with such resistance in some organizations?
That's an excellent question. And I can tell you that in my almost 30 years career, I can tell you that one of the biggest misconceptions there are in the industry. We are a brick and mortar industry. Make no mistake. We have zero tolerance for EHS complacency or anything that relates to the efficiency or the well-being and the safety of our. And I think the idea that you need to keep in mind is that none of us is 100% occupied all of their day. Even if you are an operation, and I've started an operation. As an operation engineer, yes, you have to be focused, you have to work, but you will also have plenty of time to work on the skills and the areas that you want to work on. So to your point, you refer to a few words that are subjective. It's a waste of time, it's a waste of resources, and you might not have permission to do it. I'm not by any means, and I'm looking at my colleagues, asking every individual here to go and launch their own initiatives. But what I'm saying is that as a young professional, you will have to learn and learn fast on some of the trends and the things that are important in your industry. And that comes through reading, it comes from exposure, it comes from not shying out from networking, from asking questions. Now, the ideas that you will have will not materialize at a high rate, I can tell you that. You will find resistance even from your closest colleagues. But this is where talking to each other is important. Because you might have thought of something, but if I share it with the group here, you will find that among the team, and one of the things I love about the composition making of a team, and we invest time and effort to make sure the team has different elements, is that you want to have an optimist within the team that you talk to. You want to have a pessimist within the team. You want to have someone who will count the money and tell you, no, we cannot, spend this. And this is where it's important to be a team player, because each individual within your team will have the right skills to tell you something that you haven't seen or you haven't thought of. Now, having said that, ideas will always need someone to receive them. And also talking to the right leaders within the organization, sometimes it's important. Selling is not easy. So a lot of you may be working on technical fields, but if you talk to your sales people, they will tell you during good times, we were selling but during bad times, you have to switch your skills, your senses toward how do I get buy-in? Make sure that first you validate your idea in a way that makes sense. Make sure you get the experience of others. Because one of the good things about the organization, you will find some of your colleagues are better at selling ideas. Some of your colleagues are better at constructing the material that will get your idea done. Now, again, timing is everything, as they say. Sometimes if you come at a trough where everybody is focused on something and you want to talk about a specific idea, sometimes it's good to keep the door open and say, let's revisit it again. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Let's have another questions, I think.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much. Since we are in the game, I think we need inputs from you as great leaders. My question related to the gap between the academic research and the petrochemical industry. And for sure, we saw and we noticed that we have too many ideas on the paper, but there is a gap between the industry and the academic. So the question is, how can we close this gap, although it will achieve the almost all of the sustainability goals that are related to the petrochemical industry?
Who will answer this difficult questions? Yes, Mr. Khalid.
So normally the cycle goes like this. So if the driver are research, then the academia does the first part of it, the research part of the innovation, whatever that is. And then you get to the development part. And that development part is actually missing in most of the developed countries, the less developed countries. And then you get into the economic scale of the final product and then get into the market. You also sometimes get the demand from the market for a new product to be developed. And because the manufacturer, if you like, doesn't have the research capability, they go back to the academia, ask for a specific scope of research, and then find a way to develop their products before you scale it up to market. What I think, experience recently is the disconnect between the academia and the market. And that gaps makes it so difficult to build an ecosystem that promote and drive innovation. And that's the reason why I said in our generation, we're more of operators and operational excellence driven, manufacturing, industry than innovation. Most of what we do is we do it through licensing. And then we deal directly with the licensors. We only go to the academia if we have a specific research around certain process or mechanical difficulties that we want the physics and the physician to assess and give us a solution. So I think from our side, we did not do a good job in creating a healthy, vibrant, if you like, demand, where we encourage our academia to be up to, if you like, the market needs and challenges. And I think the reason is because the business model we adopted has a very limited needs for an academia demand. What I can see now happening through sustainability and other drivers is we wanted to start to become a product formulation type industry rather than specific grade production on the plastic we're talking about. And this needs for academia support to help us on the research part before we go into the piloting product part has started to arise. And then we started to talk to colleges in Saudi, universities in Saudis, and outside Saudi too. So that innovation elements on plastic, I think, started to kick in because sustainability, but also because you need to position yourself in the market. If you want to be a high-end product company, then you cannot do without having this capability to develop, produce, improve. Yeah? And difficult times always, if you like, trigger innovations and a need to, if you like, transform challenges to opportunity. The government also realized that this ecosystem is not well integrated yet. And you could see definitely in Saudi, the Ministry of Industry, the Ministry of Energy are starting to, if you like, connect these dots that were missing in the past. The academia always complaining about nobody is approaching them, there is not enough financing. The industry think there's a big gap between research and development, and unless you bridge this, you would not complete the ecosystem. So the last few years, at least in Saudi, we could see this really an issue, a challenge that been recognized. And through the ministry and the private sector, you could see actions where we're trying to utilize the academia to its full potential. Because academia is not only about knowledge transfer, it's really about the R&D part that have not been, if you like, given the enablers to contribute. And hopefully in the near future, we would see the first few results of that ecosystem being built up, integration, challenges that, if you like, transform to opportunities, and industry start to reconnect on the R&D part of academia and build this product development part so we can get to market.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Just to elaborate on Khalid, I think you're spot on, especially in the Middle East. That disconnect is still there and need to be developed as soon as possible. I think both parties should recognize academia and industry is a two-way street. It should not receive by the academia that is just funding for R&D, for the sake of R&D. The industry faces a lot of market challenges. First, the capital cost on the capital projects is increasing. The market is always has its own cyclicity, so companies face sometimes cash flow challenges and so on. So any R&D project should be understood from both parties to create a value, whether it's a social value, environmental value, or actually financial value. And that's where then the collaboration has to be built. That's the fundamental base. Otherwise, it's just be perceived as a funding for social or funding to support the academia without recognizing the value to the industry. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hilal. Okay, our audience, as we are reaching the end of our panel, let's hear some final remarks from our panelists in 2 words only, just to encourage our youth and what kind of guidance or advice you want to share with them. Starting with you, Mr. Naser.
Think positive. That's
Mr. Naser, Mr. Khalid.
So just to reiterate again, if you want to make a difference, it's not about knowledge. It has to be about know-how. And I think with all the technologies we have today, knowledge is always at the fingertip. All what you need to do is Google it or chat GPT it, and then you'll get the information, which make it very difficult for you guys. I think we've gained some of our skills through trying to find this knowledge because it was not accessible. Today, I think because that's too easy for you, to get from a knowledge to know-how is going to be extremely challenging. So be assured that the information itself is not going to get you far. And to get into the skills and the knowledge, it's very hard work. It's going to be and will continue to be a very hard work. And that what would differentiate talented who works hard and talented who try to find the easy way out, because we are programmed always to find the shortcut. So going against our nature is also a big challenge. And good luck.
Thank you. Mr. Hilal.
Just a few words. Decision on sustainability issue required boldness and resilience. And you're going to see that from your leaders in any organizations. And by saying that, I'm going to leave you with a question. We're going to get the answer next year. What bold steps you going to do as individuals towards taking real action towards sustainability? I'll leave this with you, and hopefully see you next year.
Thank you, our panelists. I think before I conclude, I have only one advice for our youth. Maybe the empowerment or any advice you can take it from the expertise, not only having like a grade or having any enablement. Maybe it can be only an advice or honest reflections. So I cannot conclude without saying and having an appreciation and thanks for Engineer Fuad. He's our coach and my mentor. Thank you for your reflection and empowerment for you. So we all enjoyed the panel and remarks in the chemical industries, which will sure will inspire the leaders and youth for future industry chemical. So thank you, Mr. Hilal. Thank you, Mr. Khalid. Thank you, Mr. Naser. Thank you, our audience, for your contribution and engagement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Great.
Well done.